Hi, it's Andrew Wayfinder here from andrewwayfinder.com, and welcome to the Maxed Out Professional's Guide to Life. Now, I work with a lot of career executives and corporate people here in London, and the reality is that there's a bit of a crisis in the sense that the world is a mess, it's getting busier, it's getting faster, and levels of SAD, stress, anxiety, and depression are roughly twice amongst professionals, people who think for a living, who have to deliver projects and services in a setting on time according to schedule, as I said, are experience about twice the level of anxiety, stress, and depression because of the pressures of the modern workplace. About half of them are being pushed to this by really demanding workloads, crushing responsibilities, a lack of support, a lack of resources. And then a pretty big chunk also are stressed out because of interpersonal conflicts, sometimes violence and bullying in the workplace, or the turmoil from above with management changes and ownership changes. But anyway, long story short, there's a lot of pressure, too much to do, not enough time, not enough support. And this little guide isn't going to fix everything, but I'm a big fan of the Pareto principle of the 80-20 rule. So we're going to focus on two things. A very, very powerful method for dealing with the physical and emotional and mental effects of stress and how to detune and de-stress yourself very quickly. And basically the short answer is be like a dog or a cat. What do you always see dogs and cats do? They yawn and they stretch. So try it right now. Just yawn. And yawn again. And yawn. And then roll your neck and head very, very slowly. Very, very slowly. And then just stretch very, very slowly. So how's that feel? Brain scans have shown that one of the reasons we burn out, for example, is that thinking literally is causing blood to flow into your brain. And if you think and think and think and think and think, you literally just burn out your ability, the sugars in your brain and things like that. So when you yawn, it stops the thinking process for a little bit. It stops that blood flow. It oxygenates the brain and it gets everything to relax. And then when you stretch really, really slowly, that's by moving really slowly into like a neck roll or a stretch, you give your brain time to notice the glitches and the tension. And it's only when it notices those glitches and tensions that you'll get the signal to relax. So just remember this one little technique. Be like a dog, be like your cat, and put a meditation timer on your phone that will go off 2 or 3 times an hour. And whenever it pings, just stop what you're doing and do a deep breath, a couple of yawns, and a stretch. And that'll just allow you to refresh and reset your biology and your nervous system. So that's the brain hack for detuning and de-stressing on the day as the day goes through. And then the other thing that happens is as clients come to me, they're often overwhelmed with a mass of symptoms and details and situations and problems. So the first task is to sort of do like triage, to figure out what's going on. And basically what I like to do at that point is say that every situation in your life is like being in a boat on the river. That you have the boat, and you have the river. Those are the 3 elements. And so you are always you. The boat is the container. So this could be your job, your relationship, your family. It's whatever context most immediately that you are working with and using to sort of navigate life. And then the river is the bigger circumstances, the economy, the history, weather, that's the situation in which. So you always want to figure out, well, is what's happening going on with the boat? Something at work or something in the relationship? Is it something that's happening with me more personally? Or is it something happening outside that's either putting pressure on me or on the boat? Or it could be a combination. But you always want to figure out which one, figure out where things land so you kind of know the scale. Now, in terms of the guide, what we're focusing on is you. And when we look at a person, a you, in your life, in the boat, rowing, going down the river in your life, there's only 3 ways in which we go off track. Our essential psychological, emotional, or physical needs aren't being met. Our innate capacities for meeting our needs have been damaged or are being misused. So, for example, imagination is a very powerful and important tool. But if you're using your imagination to worry and to scare yourself to death, that's not healthy. And then the other way that people can get into difficulty is that there's skills they might need. Like, if you're trying to date and you don't really know how to make conversation or flirt, that's a missing skill. You might be missing a skill for a particular level of work at your job. But roughly 80%, again, of the problems that people have are typically more about their unmet needs. And so what I'm going to take you through next is the career wheel of life method to just identify 12 essential needs that must be met for you to be happy, to be healthy, and to thrive. And the thing is, this is baked into our biology. I mean, you're here because literally thousands, if not tens of thousands of generations of your ancestors survived. And so when you're born, you come in with this genetic memory of all the skills and capacities and situations that humanity's overcome to make it through. You're born with this genetic experience. You're born with a brain that is literally a supercomputer on your shoulders and kind of a spirit and an awareness that can accomplish remarkable things. So again, the focus of the guide is to identify where you're strong, where you're weak, and what you need to do to start to move things. So between these two things, you've got 2 very simple tools to make sure that you as the person in the boat going down the river of your life are as healthy and strong and together as possible. And then that puts you in a better position to deal with, does the boat need to be repaired, what's happening on the river, and those sorts of stuff, which are a little bit bigger than a 10-minute guide can cover. Okay? So let's go look at the wheel. Okay, so the way the wheel works is that there are 12 spokes that go out with a little tick mark along from the center out to the edge. At the center, it says never, and then almost never, sometimes, fairly often, and very often. And what you do is you go around each spoke and ask yourself, in the last few months or in my life generally, I feel safe and secure at home. Very often, fairly often, sometimes, or never. And put a mark on that spoke. So that's the first spoke at the 12 o'clock mark. And then the next one is I feel safe and secure at work and school. So these first 2 are just measuring what's your level of physical safety, because that's the foundation for everything else in your life. That if you are safe and secure, your fight or flight mechanism is not being triggered. And the thing is, the cells in your body basically are either in rest and repair mode or running like hell scared mode. So if the safety and security is being triggered, your body never gets a chance to replenish or renew itself. The third spoke is I feel I make choices and can direct my life. And this is about having control and agency. And as we live in increasingly bureaucratic and routinized and an environment where other people are pushing you around and scheduling you, that can be very, very stressful. So again, measure how much of that you have in your life. The next spoke is I feel energized and healthy when I eat. The thing is, food is nourishment. Food is supposed to be healthy and satisfied. So if you walk away from the table feeling lethargic or with some form of indigestion, or you have an energy crash a few hours later, something's not right there. And so you really need to be aware of that, because any form of allergy or intolerance is really going to affect you and make a huge difference. So again, food and energy is foundational to the functioning at the cellular level. And then I use, move, and strengthen my body, fairly often to never. Again, big range there. And the thing is, if we look back to our ancestral experience of, being kind of a caveman or a paleo person out in the wild, we move gently across the landscape, typically, hunting, gathering, stalking. Occasionally we'd have to run like hell to get out of danger, and occasionally, carry something big and heavy. And so that would be kind of a good, natural, healthy exercise routine, is that, you want to be moving gently and steadily. You want to be using your body. It's definitely a question of use it or lose it. And some form of heavy weights and that kind of tough stress of lifting something heavy is very baked into our biology. The next spoke is I feel refreshed and rested when I wake up. Sleep is vital, vital, and sleep deprivation is one of the subtle, hidden, illnesses in our culture. And the thing is, sleep is both a requirement and an indicator. So if you are sleeping well, it means you're more refreshed and have the energy and renewal to face the day. But also, as you become stressed and anxious and worry, it can leak into your sleep cycle. And so that creates sort of a downward spiral. And certain forms of illness, postpartum depression, for example, is not just the consequence of hormonal changes in pregnancy, but oftentimes with the new baby and the parents, especially the mother's sleep cycle being so disturbed, that a certain amount of that depression can be caused by the lack of sleep. Your baby's doing a sleep deprivation experiment on you, and certain forms of schizophrenia and psychosis can also be explained as a form of disturbed sleep, where the sleep becomes so disturbed that you are literally dreaming with your eyes open. So being very aware of the quality of your sleep and making sure to get sleep and rest is very, very important, because poor sleep can lead to a downward spiral, and being anxious and stressed and overworked will create bad sleep, which then sort of feeds on itself. The bottommost spoke is I spend times with friends and family. Again, we are social creatures. We grow up in tribal environments, in small tribes and groups. And friends and family is about giving and receiving attention, knowing that you matter, and that there are people that matter to you in your life. This can be reflected in sort of romantic, loving relationships. But what it means is that you have at least one other person in the world who you have this kind of love and bond and connection and acceptance with. So that's very important. The next two actually are connected, which is I feel a part of a group and needed by others, and also I feel what I do is respected and valued by others. They're a little bit different. Group and needed by others is that I belong to the tribe. I belong to some kind of larger group around me, the community. And then I feel what is respected and valued has more to do with, and I'm able to contribute, and my contribution is recognized. So that, again, these are very important, because if you didn't belong to the tribe back in prehistory, caveman and woman days, you were going to be food for a saber-toothed tiger. So knowing and feeling our connection with the tribe is very, very important. Over at the 9 o'clock, we have, I do things I enjoy for interest and for pleasure by myself or with others. You have interests, you have hobbies. Are there things that nourish you and refresh you in your life, that bring enjoyment, that bring engagement, that bring, in a sense, new information, that we're not a closed system? And the need for growth and for novelty and to stretch yourself is again very, very vital to your functioning and your happiness. Then we have, I feel optimistic and hopeful about life, is that, having things to look forward to, having a reason to get up in the morning, and also that optimism is almost like a mental habit. So just notice whether you have it or not, and whether there are things that you're looking forward to, because it's a huge motivator and energizer, and it's important. And then the last spoke is, I feel life has meaning and purpose for me. Because again, we are not just physical beings, we are not just emotional beings, we are kind of mental and spiritual beings. And to feel connected to something larger and to have a meaning and a purpose is very, very kind of foundational. And Viktor Frankl, a psychotherapist who was in the concentration camps in World War II, in his book Man's Search for Meaning, observed, that the people who made it through the concentration camps had two characteristics. One, they weren't loners. They were connected to other people. And two, they had a larger meaning, a larger purpose, something they felt connected to that kept them going in those really horrendous circumstances. So take a look at your wheel, because the way the wheel works is that, it's like a wheel with 12 spokes, and the more spokes you have that are full length, the stronger your wheel is going to be. So if you put a dot on each place where your number crosses, and then connect the circles, look at the, connect the lines, look at the shape of the circle. Ideally, it's a big round circle around the outside. What's important to notice is that anything below a number 2, sometimes, almost never or never, if any one of those spokes is below that, that can start to create significant stress. And so the way you want to do is take a look at that, and then on the last page, look at, what were your lowest 3 spokes and what were your highest 3 spokes. So this is, where you're strongest and where you're weakest. And write down there some things that you can do in terms of how do you want to maintain your top 3 and extend them, and what do you want to do about the lowest 3. Or maybe there's something that doesn't even necessarily come up as the lowest, but you've identified it as, I really want to work on this. Because again, the overlying idea is, as a matter of principle, the stronger and healthier your life is, the more spokes you have that are working in your life, the better able you will be to face the stresses and the demands of life. So that's the guide. So keep an eye out for the emails that will be coming your way. They will be reminding you of some of these things in here, and to stay busy with things, and give you some opportunities and tips about where you can take this work. So anyway, I wish you much luck and success and a lot of joy and happiness in your work. And one last time, yawn. Stretch really slowly. And let your body be like the cat and the dog. So, that's me, Andrew Wayfinder, career mentor and guide, healer, speaker, and coach. Signing off from here in Chelsea, London. Bye.